Hey everybody, welcome to the Rahdo Runs Through channel. This is the R&R&R show, episode 71. Welcome friends, I'm Ruel Gaviola, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, handsome co-host, Chris George.
You charmer.
You like that,
That's
Chris?
me waving right there.
You like that?
Point and wave. That's how you do it.
Folks, if you're wondering what the heck we're talking about, be sure to hit the button, click on the link below for the extended edition where we talk about Chris's new facial hair look out. And he actually shared some photos, folks. This is why I'm talking about how beautiful and handsome this man is, because you need to see what he did before he came on the show here today. But Chris, enough of that. We can talk about your handsomeness all show long, but we're not there for that. We're here for games, right?
We are here for games, I suppose. I will put the $100 of my budget towards games and not to face creams and hair trimming products. I think I will do that.
All right. I love hearing that. We've got a really cool list today. This is interesting, folks. This is something new for me. I'm excited to do this. Chris, we're looking at the top 12 games you can get for $300. Now, this is a $300 combined U.S. budget that you, Richard, and I have decided these are the games we would start, if we had this amount of money, these are the games we would buy. Now, Richard's going to be joining us through the magic of video. Chris, you want to talk a little bit about maybe your approach to this? I mean, it was not an easy task, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't. And well, I mean, it was a little bit easier for me because we did our budget in US dollars, and me being in Canada, I was like, okay,
that's
the
right.
world's my oyster. I've got so much money to spend, baby. I took a bath with it. I showered myself in gems. I really felt very opulent with this list. But then I still cheated. So Richard's list has to be 98 and 10 cents because I stole $1.90 from him. And he doesn't know this, but he does now. And then also for us, we were like, okay, we've done this in the past with one store, but we just went to Board Game Oracle, which kind of is a conglomerate of the prices that are out there. And so, of course, I cheated in two ways in that usually when you spend like $100 in a game store, maybe sometimes it's like $150, you get free shipping, right? So I didn't factor in shipping, and I need to specify this because shipping is the thing that I think about more than my own lack of self-worth. It's an incredible amount that I think about shipping. So I didn't put any shipping in. I stole $1.90, and I also just got games that I want. And so like some of them I have, and some of them I don't. I have two that I have, two that I don't. So I figured I'd put a balance on that list. And then I also exclusively went to the deals and discounts section on Board Game Oracle because I don't buy things like for full retail price.
Oh, that's great.
I think that's a chumps game, and I'm cheap, and I have to deal with fake Canadian money. And so it's a hard life up here. We're cold, and our dollar is worth 73 of your cents.
I love it.
We got to do what we can to get by and get things on a discount.
Exactly.
All right. And so I went exclusively for the discounts, and so like these discounts may not be existing. They might be existing. I don't know, but I'm very happy with my list, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome.
So that's what I'll say. How about you, Ruel?
No, that's great. So I didn't do the deals and discounts. I just sort of went on what games I really would, if I did have this imaginary $300.
Honorable man.
Pretty much, yeah. I am an honorable man. I did not take $1.20 from anyone. But, having said that, why don't we just jump right into it, Chris? You're going to kick things off with our number 12, and then we'll talk more as we go along here. And, so what do we got at number 12? So this is $100 for each of us to get 4 games, and then we combine it for 12 games here for a total of US 300. So, Chris, your first choice, my friend.
Well, my first choice, and it's our number 12 because it is also a cheat. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care. And I know I'm going to get flack for this from Richard in his video.
You're calling it now. I love it. Nice.
But you know what? I don't care.
Yes.
I care about this game. And because I saw it at this price, that I was like, that's a good deal. And it's something I've wanted to pick up for a long time. It is an expansion to a game that I own. That's why it kind of goes off list, because it's like you have to have the base game in order to actually play it. But you know what? I'll throw away my base game and I'll just play with these components and I'll figure it out. We're talking about Scoundrels of Skullport, the expansion to Lords of Waterdeep. I had it on Amazon for $22.99.
Okay.
I wrote down to where I found them as well, because it's all 4 different stores as well. So I'm not qualifying for that free shipping either. So this one was on Amazon. Scoundrels of Skullport just would reinvigorate my copy of Lords of Waterdeep. I still love Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is like such an incredible beginner worker placement game.
Yes.
If you're new to worker placement, it was one of my first 20 games probably that I ever got into my collection, and it's still stuck around. My girlfriend still enjoys playing it, and I have yet to purchase Scoundrels of Skullport. I just love everything that it does. I love that it adds in a couple new locations on the board. So a couple new locations where you can get better stuff, but you often also have to take corruption, which are worth negative points. And so they're worth negative points at the end of the game, and they're worth negative points scaled depending upon how many people take these negative points. And I don't know, actually, now thinking about it, if I've ever really seen that used in many games, that sort of scaling of the negatives that you can directly affect your opponents too. Because they have 3 little skulls that you can take, and then when you take those 3 little skulls, you move on to the next tier, then suddenly every single skull is now worth -2 points, and then -3 points. And so if it's hovering around the -3 to -4 area, you could go there, take a negative, and you'd only get -4, and you'd make somebody else get an additional -12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they would have only had -9, and something like that could scale in that way, or you can use it strategically. I think it's really fun. Just adds in a bunch more stuff. It's a solid game, and I haven't played Lords of Waterdeep in a while, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what? That's a good price for it. $22.99 is what I would want to pay for it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's regular was like $30 or something, but $22.99 was like, yeah, that's a decent price. And so that's kind of how I operated with this list too, of being like, you know what? That's a good price. Like I'm cheap, and I would buy it for this price. so therefore it makes the list.
Yeah, no better recommendation than that, folks. You're cheap, and this is the game for you. I love Lords of Waterdeep, especially with the Scoundrels of Skullport. Confession time, Chris. I've actually owned this twice in my lifetime. Both times I've gotten rid of it. I'm not gonna lie. Looking at this video, hearing you talk about it, I need to reacquire this, I think, for the 3rd time. It's
a good game.
It really is. It's fantastic. And it's one of those things. The only reason why I got rid of it is because I needed the space in my room. But I can always call some other games and bring this one back because it's always solid. I've always enjoyed playing this. And you're right. It's a great worker placement game for newbies, but it still has enough, especially with the Skullport expansion, where veteran gamers like yourself and myself, we still enjoy it. I will play this anytime. It is so good. Yeah, it's outstanding. For sure. Yeah, it still holds up. I love that. So great choice, Chris. And just a reminder, folks, we use BoardGameOracle.com to find all the prices and stuff. They do price comparisons and whatnot, and it was really fun doing this. And speaking of fun, I've got a fun one for my number 11, Chris. A game that I've loved for a long time. I was introduced to this after, let me see. Oh, you know what? No. Okay, I should back up. I need to explain my reason here for this game. Let me write it down here. I had it all set up here. Let me see.
I know. I was searching frantically off screen to get my price list up too.
Yeah,
what's happening.
And you totally caught me, folks. This is the beauty of doing this live, and we are doing this live on Twitch, and things happen. But my number 11, what I was going to talk about is, there was a game called Dinosaur Island that I really enjoyed. Worker placement. It's basically Jurassic Park on the tabletop, right? And as much as I enjoyed that game, I thought there were some problems with it. Number 1, it ran too long. Number 2, it was like huge table hog. And it was just, it was a pain to set up, pain to clean up, and it didn't get to the table that much. But there was a perfect replacement for that game, and it's my number 11. It was dirt cheap. It is Dinosaur Island, Rawr and Right. And yes, we have to say Rawr and Right, because that's the name.
You do.
Right.
If you don't, you go to jail.
Exactly. You go to board game jail. You don't want that. You want to say Rawr and right. This is the roll and write or Rawr and write version. How many times can I say that? I don't know. We're going to keep going, though.
I don't know. We should get a counter on the screen, though. If
we should.
Live, we would.
Folks on YouTube, let us know how many times you caught me saying Rawr and right. Anyways, it still keeps all the flavor and all the gameplay of the original, which I love, Chris. You're still building your park. You're still going to, hopefully keep those dinos where they're supposed to be. And you're doing it with the use of these really cool polyomino tiles that you just draw on your player sheet. Now, you still roll. You're still going to get resources. You still need to build, use the DNA to build your dinosaurs. And eventually, hopefully your park's going to be safe. And you have, your concession stands. You have all the different buildings. It is Dinosaur Island. And it's still, what's great, it's still a thinky as heck game. It's crunchy. Like, it is not just like, I'm going to roll dice, write a number, hopefully it works. No, this is still a Dinosaur Island experience. Worker placement, action selection, you have different abilities, and oh my gosh, I love this game. I had to have a roll and write on this list, Chris, and I was wondering, for me at least, most bang for my buck. Do I go with like a classic like Welcome to, or something like Gonchon's Clever? And I was like, you know what? Dinosaur Island Rawr and Write is the perfect mix of not only or action selection, worker placement, but also dice placement, I should say. And you have that roll and write experience. So it's a little crunchier than Yahtzee or whatever, but oh boy, it's so good. I love this game so much. That's why it's our number 11, friends. Dinosaur Island, Rawr and Write.
Rawr and Write. I'm over the moon that it's on a list that's not my selection. I love this game as well.
Yeah.
It made my top 20 games. Like,
nice.
Number 17 or something.
Yeah.
I friggin' adore this game. It's so good. And I love it because most roll and writes don't feel interactive, but when you snake draft the dice and you have that leaving the dice in the middle, it just feels so important. Like, you're actually affecting each other in a way that most roll and writes are your own solo puzzle. And I just love the interaction that it brings. Agreed. So solid.
And it just now. Had you played the original Dinosaur Island, Chris, or just? This?
I haven't. No, it's my only Dinosaur Island experience.
I would even say you don't have to experience Dinosaur Island because you have the best version of it here. I did like Dinosaur Island, the 2-player, but I feel like this is superior. It's even better than that one because of just the way you use the dice and the way that you're drawing stuff. I mean, it's technically a roll and write, but I feel like it really feels like a full-fledged board game, right? Where you are still working all these different things, got to convert resources and whatnot. I mean, I love the experience, and I'm glad that it's when you're top 20. That's amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. I cannot wait. I think, I don't know. You never know when games are in development or when expansions are in development. I had talked to the designer at Origins, and he mentioned he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to get some different maps or something. That would be the expansion. Like that's the vision for the expansion." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds incredible." He's like, "Yeah, if you like cover something up, maybe you get something." I was like, "That sounds like the best thing in the whole fucking world."
Yeah. Wait. Is this official or was this just he was just sort of talking?
No. It was just a conversation. There's no official here, but like I've been ever since that conversation. I was like, "Listen, when it happens, let me know."
Yes.
Like, tell me if you need play testing, I'll do it. Like, I don't care. Because I managed to play test this. I play tested this when it was first in its original. Like,
no way.
I did it over like tabletop. Yeah, tabletop.
Oh wow.
And cool. And then they gave me like a $10 coupon off the Kickstarter. I was like, great.
Right on.
So I got for $10 cheaper as like a thank you for playing.
So do you remember when it was in its original prototype form? Was it similar to the finished project?
It was pretty close. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty close to whenever I got invited into the process, right? This was before I started like doing YouTube, I think. So like
Wow, cool.
Regular old playtester.
Right on. Okay, folks, that's our number 12 and 11. Let's move on to Richard for number 10. Richard, take it away.
Okay, guys, good to have you back. Yes, and, well, excellent choice. As always, I find myself very much agreeing with you. Rawr and Write is phenomenal. That is so much game in that roll and write box. Really heavy, crunchy stuff. Definitely big value there. And Chris. We've made such progress over the last few months. We've really become more simpatico, but then you throw it all away by spitting in the face of this very list by making people get an expansion without the game. Then they have to pay an extra $40. And then we break the entire conceit of this list. So before we get to number 10 on the list, I am going to have to call an audible. I'm going to have to make an executive decision here because in the R&R&R show, I am the first R. And I am going to head over to the excellent site we all used for this, Board Game Oracle, because, Chris, what did you say? I believe you said Skullport was $22.99. I'm going to suggest, hey, maybe if you'd gone into, where is it? Advanced search, there we go. And we say, just board games, not expansions, accessories, just board games. I am going to have to find a replacement for you now. Let's see, $22.99. There's got to be something that is the exact same price right off the bat. Spiel des Jahres winner, Scout. Come on! I wouldn't choose it, but you could have chosen it. Or what else? A lot of people love the Machi Koro. Warp's Edge. Man, that Warp's Edge is one of the greatest solo modern games there is. A very good choice. Mysterium Park. All the great fun of Mysterium in a tighter, faster playing, easier to teach package. A great party social game. Red Outpost is such a cool twist on worker placement. Proving Grounds, another fantastic solo. Loot Island, a very sharp game. A little too cutthroat for my taste, but excellent as well. Shinkansen Zero K, I know how much you love Red Cathedral. This is from the same developers. Chris, you had so many options at your price point to give us a real game. But anyway, you chose not to. That's okay. Of all those, it's probably Warp's Edge or Mysterium Park. I could say either of those really should have been our number 12 on the list. And sticking to our, $294.56 target. Anyway, though, okay. Enough of that. All that out of the way. Let's move on to number 10 on the list, Earth. I decided to go big. I've got my $100, and Earth is right now my odds-on favorite top game of the year 2023. And when I saw it's so easy to pick up for like $49.99, we're at Just Games Rochester. I mean, actually, I know it's out of print at most major online retailers, but when they do have it in stock, it's even cheaper than that. And this game has so much going on. I feel like I've talked about Earth quite a bit. Like I said, I will be talking about at the end of the year. There's almost no way it doesn't make my game of the year. So it seemed like an obvious no-brainer. Such a brilliant, wonderful, crunchy puzzle of a game that gives you so much play in such a tight time frame because of the simultaneous play, where every time on a player's turn they trigger an action, everybody else gets to do a version of that action. So much fun, so much to track. A really wonderfully produced game. I can't recommend it highly enough. Number 10 on the list, Earth. And before I throw back to you guys, I just wanted to say, in case I wasn't clear, Board Game Oracle is fantastic. A really wonderful and very useful website. There's a link for it down in the show notes, like everything else we're talking about today. RIP to the wonderful Board Game Atlas, another website that offered the same function of being able to comparison shop. They shut down a few months ago, but Board Game Oracle lives on, and cannot recommend this website highly enough, and they made this entire video possible. So much so that, folks, did you know there's an extended version of this show where we have a pre-show and a post-show? You can hit that eye in the top right corner of the screen or follow the links down in the show notes to go check that out. And in the extended post-show, I had so much fun doing this, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of extra 12 additional games that you could buy for under $300 if you're looking for some great options. So, anyway, all that out of the way, back to you guys.
Yeah, so again, if you're watching this YouTube, we have an extended version that we record live here on Twitch, so be sure to hit the show notes below, check out the link, and you will see all of that great stuff. Earth, fantastic game. I love this. The first time I played it was actually with Richard at Dice Tower West, and it was a brilliant game. Getting tons of accolades this year, deservedly so. And yeah, he went big right off the bat, and that's, it's all good. We took different approaches. I'm still laughing, Chris, over him calling you out for that.
I really like the title of Chris is Wrong down below. That was my favorite. That was my favorite touch of it. I knew that would happen, but you know what?
You called it.
I don't care. I stand by it.
Yes.
I will happily play with just my expansion and think everyone should do that. We have a lot.
I love it. That's great.
Warp's Edge. I've heard Warp's Edge is really great. I just don't play solo games, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Warp's Edge is fantastic.
Shows how much Richard knows me.
Well, that's right. The Chris is Wrong title.
No, it's very funny. But I think like the essence of this list is also value, right? And I think that's why Earth is a really nice pick for it, because it is really like, it's really affordable for the quality of game that you get and like the amount of components in it. Well, I spent a lot of time on Kickstarter, and when I saw this on Kickstarter, it was like 54 Canadian. That was like the Kickstarter price. And was just incredible, right? Like that's 40 something US, and that's what it's running for. And the fact that like it is so, they could price this up an extra $10. I don't think anybody would bat an eye. You know what I mean? Like in terms of feeling like you also got your money's worth. And that says something since I'm incredibly cheap. But yeah,
you're right. It's incredible value. And that's why it was our number 10. Now, thank you, Richard, for that. Now it's back to you, Chris, for number 9. Let's see. Are you going to break the rules again, or what are we doing here?
I'm not going to break the rules. This one was over on Game Nerds. Yeah, I'm glad Richard shouted out Board Game Atlas too. That did just shut down, and that was a loss, I feel, for us. But Board Game Oracle is still going, and that's really nice. They didn't sponsor this video. We just like it, right? Like like the site. So I think that was a great shout out. But yeah, this one is Game Nerds. It clocks in. This is my most expensive. No. I left my most expensive for the last. This one clocks in at $24.97. And it is a game that I tried to pick games that I feel are really good games that are sort of undervalued because they didn't get the widespread popularity. And I think this is that game. People said it was too long. That was one of the main critiques of it. I don't think it's too long, even as the base game. You don't need the Igor variant. I'm talking about Abomination, Era of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's just a lovely worker placement game. I feel like I've mentioned it on lists in the past, and I almost held it back because I was like, dang, in October we're probably going to do a spooky scary list, and Abomination's probably going to be on that one too.
Right.
So I almost picked something different in terms of just like thinking ahead for future stuff, but I opted to keep it in because I think at $24.97 that's a great price for this game. It's just a solid 2 worker placements. Hey, you can incorporate Scoundrels of Skullport into Abomination, Era of Frankenstein, and it'd be completely fine. It would really shake up the game. But you're trying to you're collecting dead body parts, and then you're reanimating your Frankenstein monster corpse. Frankenstein's monster wants a friend or a bride, and you've got to reanimate it. I just think it's a heck of a lot of fun. It's a dark theme, but I find it very funny. Like I find it very funny that you can go to the graveyard and your parts that you get aren't as fresh, and so you need to use them sooner than if you paid somebody to murder someone in a back alley. Because then those parts will be fresh. Like that's the overarching theme of it, and just that aspect is very funny to me. And also the fact that you can. If there's a hunter who's hunting Frankenstein's monster, and the hunter actually catches up, then things are worth different points. And I love those end game triggers where it's like, if you completed your monster and Frankenstein's alive, it's worth more points than, if Frankenstein's dead, well, make sure your morality stat is still up high, because then that's worth more points. So yeah, just a really, really solid, not too complicated at all. And I really didn't find it. Like I've only played the long game. I haven't played the Igor variant. Okay. And we did it. People are like, it takes 4 hours. We did it in 2. Like, and that was with a teach. You know what I mean? Like, it's gotten quicker since then when all people know the game.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think you're right. It definitely depends on players, because I've played this game a couple of times, and one time, actually the first time I played, there was a few like casual gamers, and this is definitely not for them. It was definitely a next step. So that took a little longer, but we ultimately liked it. I liked it a lot better. I did like it a lot better with the Igor variant, where to me, that felt like, having Terraform Mars Prelude with Terraform Mars, just ramps things up. But overall, the game it's one of my favorites. I still have it. It's one of the most thematic games out there, right? Nice. It is just perfectly matched. It is dark. It's not for everyone. It is pretty gruesome, but I just think, you're talking about funny bits, just the whole thing that you could use like dog parts, for your...
Yeah, you can use dog parts. You can put your parts on ice, thematically. If we do a Halloween list, spoiler alert, this is my number one.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Anytime there's a Halloween list, this always makes it on there. It's an evergreen title.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game. I do understand some of the complaints about being too long, but as you said, you've been able to knock it out in 2 hours, and that's perfectly fine. So maybe people
that's
just
like
need
an average game, right?
Yeah,
or at least what I assume an average game.
Yeah,
is.
not bad at all.
I'll have to check out the Igor variant then.
I highly recommend it. Yeah, and also I think it was during the pandemic when it first started. I think the designers came up with a solo variant as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
Like an official one, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't given that a shot. Yeah, I'd like to check that one out. But yeah, fantastic game. I definitely worth. I mean, for what was it, $24.97? You said that's
$24.97.
That's like over half off, right? That's a fantastic deal.
Like really good deal. It was on Game Nerds. I don't know. We made this like a couple of days ago, so. Cool. I don't know if it's still there for that, but for that price, really
absolutely. And the production's brilliant. I mean, it's just beautiful. Yeah. Again, if you can get over the theme of like body parts and stuff, it is a beautiful production. All right, cool. That's our number 8. It's to me now for number. Oh no, that was number 9. Now we're going to me for number 8. We will. Again, we're recording this live on Twitch, folks, just for y'all. And I've got number 8. This is a game. It's brand new, Chris. This is something that is on pre-order, actually. So I sort of broke the rules, too. I didn't do an expansion, but I got one that you have to pre-order rather than it's not actually available right now. But
pre-order's fine.
Okay, it's fine. As long as you're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
I'll allow it.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. This is one of my favorite games of this year, so by far. It's on the top 3 so far. I don't see it going down. It's wonderful. It is a game called Sky Team. That's our number 8. This is a cooperative game that Richard and I actually played here on the channel, folks. If you saw it, it is on the channel right now, and we had a really good time doing this. You're basically a pilot and co-pilot trying to land your plane safely, and you do this through dice placement. And what's really brilliant about this game is that you can strategize all you want, but once you get into the meat of the game, which is placing the dice, you can no longer talk. And your dice are behind screens, so you cannot see what you have, and you're trying to deduce what your partner is going to place in certain areas. So there's all these different tracks. The pilot has access to a few that the co-pilot doesn't have, and vice versa. There are some that you're working together, such as, hey, we need to land this plane. I need to get the landing gear down. You need to get the flaps down. We need to make sure we're, level. We need to make sure our speed is okay. Oh, by the way, we need to make sure we don't run out of fuel, and, if we want help, we need to concentrate. And I love the fact that in the game, the concentration tokens are represented by coffee cups. So, hey, give me another cup of coffee. I need to land this plane. But it's a great little theme, and what's great, Chris, is it only plays in 20 minutes. It's a quick game, and I think so. We did this here on the channel. I also played on my channel, and I think for me, the biggest selling point is I played with my buddy Daryl. Daryl is not a cooperative gamer. He's a wonderful friend. He just doesn't want to play co-op games. This is a co-op game. I was like, dude, give this one chance. We'll never have to play it again. He actually requested to play it again right after we played it. That's how much he liked it. And we still talk about it. I was like, dude, I think this might, and he's like, yeah, it's the fact that it takes away the quarterbacking of a lot of cooperative games. Yeah. Just the way it's built. And I love the theme of trying to land this plane. And it is funny when you're not going to land. It's like, okay, thanks for flying Rahdo Airlines. We're all going to crash in the mountain now. Enjoy your flight. We'll see you next time. But that's why it's my number 8. A brilliant game this year. It is on pre-order. That is Sky Team.
I've heard that happens a lot on Rahdo Airlines.
It only happens when he talks about expansions being on a list.
I've heard that happens a lot. I don't know. I don't know who I heard that from, but I heard it. I definitely heard it from someone. People were talking about it. That's all I was saying.
People talk. All right, let's move on to Richard. He's got our number 7.
Okay, Ruel, once again, I agree wholeheartedly. Sky Team is fantastic. I had so much fun filming that run through with you, and it's stressful, no choice about it, but such a brilliant design. And Chris, Abomination is no doubt an excellent design. Very macabre, very grotesque, but if you're not turned off by the subject matter, and for folks who don't know, if you use the official variant you can read about on Board Game Geek, because I think pretty much universally, one of the biggest complaints about Abomination was its gameplay length was just way too long. Epically long. The developers and publishers took that feedback on board. They released updated rules that let you play it in almost half the time, and then it becomes a truly excellent experience, again, if you're looking for a really macabre worker placement game. Probably not for me and Jen, but it's certainly a step up from your previous entry. But all that out of the way, let's move on to number 7 on the list, Nimalia, which is another game that has the potential to make it into my top 10 games for this year, 2023. A simple, unassuming, a little card game where we're doing Seven Wonders Sushi Go style drafting of cards and then layering them on top of each other using a scoring system taken right out of Isle of Skye and used to such great effect. I love this multiple objective system. Cartographers does it too, but Isle of Skye is really what introduced us to this variable objective system where you solve objectives, then they come back later, and so you're really trying to score them well early and late, and just so much fun, so much variety, a nice collection of different objectives. Are going to mix it up game after game after game, and even in 2-player, the card draft, maybe even especially in 2-player, the card drafting is so tense. This game is phenomenal. Well, I know you love it too, and it can be gotten for $15.99 at Atomic Empire, according to the Oracle. And when I saw that, I'm so in love with this game right now, I had to put it on my list, Nimalia.
Yeah, this one was on my list as well. This is such again, a number game for me that's top 5 of the year. And talk about bang for your buck. In that little box, it's got a fantastic, just so much replayability and just a fantastic game. I don't know if you've been able to play it yet, Chris, but what do you think of this type of?
Yeah, I walked up to a table and I think at Dice Hour West, I feel like Alex from Board Game Co. was playing it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this looks neat. Yeah, and I know you've talked about it super highly as well.
Yeah.
I love those variable scoring conditions. Those variable, not scoring conditions, but the variable objectives.
Yep.
And how the cycle of it happens. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. This was on my list, and it didn't make the list because Richard got to talk about it. So, very wise choice for number 7, Richard. But let's move on to Chris. Mm-hmm. We've got our number 6 coming up.
Now, I feel like this maybe should have been our number 3, like my number 1. But I'm going to talk about it now because objectively, I think I like the game more. That's coming up. But this game, I think I am its only advocate. I think I'm the only person who advocates for this game. It was a game that was universally panned by so many people, but I do not know why. Sure, it used to be $100, right? When it first came out, they were trying to sell it for like $100. Now, because everybody hates it, you can get it for $14.95 at Noble Knight. I've seen it this low consistently. And for this price, like, give it a friggin' try. It's Seafall. It's Seafall.
Nice.
A legacy game.
Yes.
Seafall. I've had so much fun with Seafall. I've played so many games of Seafall. We're like, I don't know, I'd say like 80 or 90% through the campaign, and then we stopped and we haven't been able to get back together because of like conflicting schedules, etc.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. It's really fun. And sure, I can see, like, I think the issue with Seafall and why people didn't like it is that, like, there's a chance down the line, if certain elements line up, you can get that like overpowered weird combo, right? Like, so because whoever's in the lead, whoever's in second or third or whatever, you get a certain number of bonuses at the start of the game, because whoever's in the lead, generally on the overarching campaign of points, has gotten a bunch of upgrades. And so it kind of balances that way. Everybody gets a bunch more stuff to start. But but then if you don't win the actual game, you get to choose to keep a person. And so there's some people that can come out that do like really game breaking things. And like my friends who I play a lot of game with, they played Seafall first. And they ran into this situation where one player was able to kind of win in 2 turns and win in a way that they weren't able to get to the end of the map to like explore the final area. Like the game ends when you explore the island at the end of the sea or something like that. And so because he had like this engine that was going that he could just win, he just kept winning, and he just kept winning until he could tie up the scores, basically. And then they're like, okay, we got to stop this. Like, you can't play that power anymore. It's done. We're just going to play a game, and we're going to finish the game. Because it was like 5 games or so in which like this weird broken power combo worked for this person, right? And so like I see the potential for those things that can happen, but other than that, it's a really fun game of resource management and just exploring and reading little passages of text and figuring out new exciting things that pop up, right? Like you'll discover islands, and all those islands will be a bit different. You'll discover little inlets in the middle of your map that like or currents that push you along, and so your map develops differently. You get a whole nice, unique map that I feel generally will work very well. And it's so sad to me that people don't give this game a shot. Like if the idea of, if you like that exploration idea, if you like that idea of like going to islands and getting different resources and trading those, it's a really solid game system. Like, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's not a bad game. It's actually a very good game. I think. Yeah. Like, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it a lot. I like that I could raid somebody's ship in the high seas. I like that I could go into their port and just fire my cannons and steal things from their vaults. And then when I do that, they get a bunch of enmity stickers against me, so that the next time I try to do that, they've got like an additional defense strength, right? So the way those sort of work, it works out. Like, there are ways that it could be broken. Yes, I understand that. But for me, the discoveries were fun. The journey was fun. And everybody, I've been playing this with 3 players, myself included, and all 3 of us have had a really good time every time we played the game. And it's something that we're actively excited to finish. And we played our last game, I don't know, over a year ago. And just like, I think it was a pandemic thing that probably stopped us as well. But I think it started somewhat in the pandemic. We all travel, right? Like, we're all variable. So it's just like schedules happen and whatever. But I've had a lovely time with it. Had an absolutely lovely time with it. I think if you go in with no expectations, like, that's how to go into this game. Okay. Because I think everybody's expectations were so high after Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Yep. Like, oh, it's another Legacy game. It's gonna happen. Yeah. And it just got panned by everybody who played it. And I think it's a tough thing to review, because you need to actually have played the full experience. And so people, I think, like, reviewers will play it max. Like, I think Shut Up and Sit Down said they played it like 6 times in their review. And like, yeah, that's fine. They're like, it just felt like too samey. And like, I get that. The cycle, it doesn't like ramp up super quick. But if you like that initial cycle, I just really enjoyed exploring the islands, getting to name the islands. There's so many new characters that pop up that you get to name. Like, it just really embodied the Legacy experience for me. And I still think Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is better. But I thought Seafall was fun. I thought Seafall was really fun, and I'll wave that flag forever. Yeah, I could talk about it forever, but that's great. I'll cut myself off.
You've sold me, Chris. I'm going to tell you, I was like everyone else. I had heard all the hype, and it was pretty much dead in the water, right? Literally dead in the water when it came out. Yeah, 100%. It was unfortunate. Nobody likes it. No one likes it. No one liked it.
I like it.
Yeah, but I think that's great that you came back and you actually had a good experience with it. And it shows to me that there's some merit for giving this a shot. As like I did hear. The similar thing where my friend group that did get it, they did say there was something broken, and it may have been the sort of like what you had with your friend, but they also sort of said, okay, well, it's broken, we just moved past it, and they liked it. They didn't love it, but they did like it enough, like, okay, it wasn't as bad as they thought it was. So for $15, like it really,
for $15.
Yeah,
like come on,
that's a steal.
Come on,
yeah,
get it.
Yeah,
I mean, see it at that price, friggin' get it.
I might as well try it at that price for sure. So great job, Chris. I never would have thought this would have been on the list, honestly. But for that price and the fact that you had a great experience, I think it's worthy of this list. Well done, man. Yeah. Great. Okay.
Richard will hate it, but what can you do about that?
That's not an expansion.
Not an expansion.
Let's move on to
use Scoundrels of Skullport in it though too.
Oh, that's right.
Incorporate. Yeah. That's part of you. If you don't know that, you probably just didn't get to that part yet.
Oh,
hey, you can use it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good how it's incorporated. I thought that was one of the true innovations.
Right. It's like, oh, look, we got something special here. Let's move on to our top 5 now. I'll kick things off with number 5. Now, I had talked about Dinosaur Island, Rawr, and Right as being bang for your buck. This, to me, is the epitome of bang for your buck. This game I've had in my collection for many, many years. And the thing is, Chris, the list price, I don't understand how it's great. The list price is like $19.99 US. But you could get it on sale. Board Game Oracle told me that the lowest price is like $14.99 at the time. But I love this game. It's a worker placement game, probably my favorite mechanism of all. So, of course, I had to include this game. This is Targi, or Targi. I always call it Targi. Yeah. I always call it Targi, folks. I'm going to stick with Targi. Wonderful game. A worker placement game. It's got this really cool mechanism of a grid style mechanism where you place your workers on the outer edges with some actions, and then where they intersect in the middle, you're going to take those actions as well. So you got resources, you convert those resources to the cards that are trying to set in your tableau. They're like Oasis and the Camel cards and all kinds of good stuff. I mean, it's just a brilliant game, and it's one of those games, sort of like Dinosaur Island, Rawr, Right, where the size of it surprises you with how much depth and complexity the game holds, right? So as you place in your workers, I remember the first time I played it, I just figured, it's going to be a light, breezy, whatever. And then 30 minutes into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Like, this is a worker placement game that isn't not like on a board. It's just this grid of cards and these little figures. But it's so good. I always love this one. I actually got the expansion for it as well, which adds resources and different cards. I cannot recommend this highly enough, especially because it's at such a low price point. Less than like $20 US, you can usually find this anywhere. It has gone out of print a couple of times, but Cosmos, I believe they're the current publisher. They've been done a really good job the last few years of keeping this in print, and I'm glad because more people need to play this game. It's one of those games that it's not a quick game. You're going to be there for a full 30, 45 minutes. Don't let the size surprise you. Like thinking, we'll just bang this out real quick. No, you're going to be there for a while because it's a full-on game, full-on worker placement. Fantastic. Cannot recommend it highly enough. That's why it's our number 5, Targi. Or Targi. I still don't know how to say it, Chris. I'm going to go with Targi.
I say Targi mainly because I've heard it. A lot of people say Targi, right? Like, I don't know.
Good enough for me.
The right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw this as well. I was like, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
And the only reason it didn't make my list is because I haven't played it, but I've heard you talk about it so much that I flanked it immediately, and I was like, yeah.
You know what we should do? I think, I don't know if you're on Board Game Arena, right, Chris? I mean, we need to play this. They have this on Board Game Arena. It's a pretty good implementation too. So we need to line up some games to play. Yeah. All right. So that's our number 5. Let's see what Richard's got in store for us at number 4. Richard, let's take it away.
Okay, excellent. Targi, one of the greatest all-time worker placement games, period. Never mind 2-player games. That made it onto our 2-player list recently, didn't it? If not, that was an oversight, but I'm sure it did, and I'm always happy to talk about it, so good choice. And Chris, Seafall, good find. I have to admit, I only ever played the first 2 missions of it when I got a chance at a Gen Con many, many years ago. Check out an early prototype of it, and I thought it was pretty cool. I would definitely be down. I mean, at that kind of a price, what was it, $14? Why not give it a go? I mean, I've heard lots of mixed things about it over the years. Some people think it's the greatest. Some people think it's the worst of all time. Some people at one point thought it was the greatest, but then kind of backtracked those ideas later. But again, at $15, how can you go wrong? It seems like it would definitely worth checking out. So I am liking both of those choices, and I'm also fond of number 4 on the list. Next station, London, which is an excellent roll and write, or flip and fill. There's no dice, it's cards instead. And while I haven't covered it on the channel, Tia here at Tijo, she did a great job. By the way, folks, if you have not checked out Tia's channel, you will love it. If you like the Rahdo Runs Through channel, she does a phenomenal job, mostly focusing on solo run-throughs of all kinds of stuff. I cannot recommend her channel highly enough. There's going to be a link for it down in the show notes. Just links for everything we're talking about today down in the show notes. And Tia does an amazing job showing just what makes this game so special. It's one of many route-building roll and writes out there. I mean, probably Railroad Inc. is the most famous one, and I love the Railroad Inc. games too. But what makes this one stand out, and the reason it got nominated for the Spiel des Jahres and almost won, some people think it was robbed, is the fact that you are working simultaneously on 4 different colored tracks. And you have to be careful about not having the tracks cross over each other. So there's like this whole extra level of complexity that is very, very cool. And what was the price I found it at? $11.17 at Boardlandia. $11.17. I mean, come on. How could you not seek out one of the Spiel des Jahres nominees at that kind of price? Again, if you want to know more, check out Tia's wonderful run-through. Link for it down in the show notes. And getting down to the best stuff, folks. Back to you guys.
Okay, yeah. Folks, be sure to check out Tia's channel. I watch that channel somewhat regularly. I really enjoy it. She does a fantastic job, especially with her solo run-throughs. It's great. But so next stop, London. I'm ashamed to say that I have not played it. Actually, no, wait, I take that back. I have played on BGA, and I was sort of like playing it, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I just sort of like went along, and then we finished the game. I was like, oh, I need to learn how to play this. But it has everything I like about roll and writes. Yeah. It looks fantastic, and I'm interested in trying it. I will. Maybe we should play it. We should play it on BGA, Chris. There's another one to add to the list, right?
Yeah. You know what? We should have a Ruel stream we'll have a BGA stream.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm down, folks. Fun. Keep an eye out for that live stream right here on Twitch, and then of course we'll share it on YouTube as well. So that was Rich's number 4. We're at the top 3 now, friends. This is the top 3 games of our combined list. $300 US. What 12 games we would buy? Basically, we got $100 each, 4 games each. And now, Chris, this is your top game pick. It's going to be our number 3. What do we got for us?
Our number 3. This is my most expensive. It comes in at $38.99, which puts me at $101.90, which is why I had to steal $1.90 from somebody else. But again, it was one of those things where it's a game that I've wanted to add to my collection for a little while now. A friend has it. It's a weird thing. I don't need to add it to my collection. A friend has it. I can play it with them. But I want it. I just want it because it's a good game. This is Grand Austria Hotel, $38.99 from Detective Hawk Games, which I'd never heard of. Apparently, they're a little game store in Florida, just outside of Orlando, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
So in that area. Because I looked it up. It's $38.99. I said, Grand Austria for $38.99. I've only seen it for like $70.
Right.
Yep. And so that amount of like a discount made me perk up and make me want to add it in. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I just want it. I just like the game. I want to have a copy for myself. And it's really fun. It's from one of my favorite design teams out there. I think they also did Lorenzo, which I really enjoy.
Yes.
And like Golem and all that sort of stuff. This is fun. You roll a bunch of dice, and the amount of dice that are rolled for a certain number is the efficacy of that action. Each number corresponds with an action. On 1, you do something different. On 3, you do something different. But in that example that was up, if you see 3 threes, well, then you get to do that like 3 times. And so I think it's a really interesting way of choosing actions in terms of, okay, do I take the one thing that's only there because there's only one of it, but do I take something from the 3 section because then I get the best usage of it? And it makes everything important. And I love games where I feel like all of your actions you need to take right then. I feel like that in Lorenzo. I feel like that in Grand Austria Hotel. And it's just such a solid thing. I don't know if Detective Hawk Games has an actual store. It seems like they were only shipping. So then I also looked at their shipping, and the shipping felt reasonable. It seems like they only shipped to the US. So I was out of luck for me. but it was like $7 or $9. And then after conversion, that's when you get it to be like almost 70 Canadian, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, well that's why we did it in the US. Yeah, that's why we did it in the US. But still, like I was like, I'm still keeping it in because I like Grand Austria a lot. And it's a great game. So.
Yeah, you can always ship it to me or Richard. Then at the next convention we're at, we could
That's
give you
true.
the game. There you go. Yeah, you're right. This design team, they do. You mentioned Gollum and Lorenzo, Il Magnifico. I love all the ways they use dice. It's very unique. That just. I think they're Italian, right? The Italian dice designers.
Yeah.
They're sort of somewhat casually known as brilliant stuff. And you're right. This game, I've never seen it less than like 70 US. It's always super expensive. So
always really expensive.
Yeah. To save almost half off. I mean, that's brilliant choice. Yeah. And that's what we're here for.
That's why it landed.
Yeah. Then that's why we're here, folks, to show you all you can make this awesome game collection of 12 games for $300 US. And Chris, the $1.40 you went over. Don't worry about it. I got you. $1.90. Don't worry. I got you because my complete list came out to $86.40, I think it was.
Wow.
So plenty of money to play with.
Plenty of room.
Yeah, plenty of room. And I also, like you, I followed your lead here, putting my most expensive game last. And actually, it's not that expensive. I saved a couple of bucks thanks to BoardGameOracle.com, but it wasn't like it's not a super expensive game, but in the context of this list, it was for me. This is my personal number one, but it's our number two on the combined list. This is a Spiel des Jahres winner called Cascadia. And, it was $28.19, which I think is a steal for this game. It is brilliant. It's probably my favorite tile laying game at the moment. It's, Michelle and I loved it. Our friends and family enjoyed it. You are building a little tableau of your Pacific Northwest. You got different terrains. You have different animals that go on those terrains, and you're eventually trying to score points based on the animals. There are different scoring conditions, which I think is such a great move on this game. You start with the basic scoring, like hawks cannot be adjacent to each other. Fish go, do a run of salmon. Bears, you start with bears and pairs, so every pair of bears you get points. But then as you dive deeper into the game, you can swap those out for different conditions. Elks may score in like little groups, bears may score in triplets or whatever. And then on top of that, Chris, what I love too, now I haven't actually played it, but I know that a lot of people do, and this is great. I love when games do this. They include a family variant. So all these scoring conditions, you take those out, and they just have this one card that gives you very basic scoring. And it's a great way to get, younger gamers or new gamers into the flow of things. They understand these, because there are some things that, can be a bit much for, newer gamers, such as not only you're trying to score animals, you're trying to score terrains. So you're juggling two things. Like, I want all my forests together. I want all my mountains together, etc. Oh, wait, I need these animals. And then you throw in the nature tokens. Hey, if you place a animal that matches a keystone, the one that has a little triangle on it, you get a nature token. That allows you to bypass the main rule, which is you draft a pair of tiles, a tile and an animal. You have to draft those two together. But using a nature token, you can start swapping those. Hey, I want this one with this one instead. Oh, it's such a brilliant design. I love this from the moment I got it. And I was so happy when Randy Flynn won Spiel des Jahres, because for me, there was no other game deserving. I mean, no, I shouldn't say that. There was no other game for me that should have won the Spiel. And I'm so glad they did. It's an absolute brilliant game. And they have an expansion coming out. Maybe next year when we do this list, you can put that expansion all by itself, Chris. Who knows?
That's true.
But yeah, that's
a Landmarks expansion.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be good. I got a sneak peek at it at Gen Con. It's more of the good stuff, folks. Yeah, it's great. So that's why it's our number two, Cascadia.
Yeah, solid pick. Like it hits really well. I just played Verdant this summer. I feel like I like Verdant more than Cascadia.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's a hot take, but it's a hot take that I'm happy to make.
Yeah, I
like Cascadia. Like it's so great.
Yeah, I've heard other people say that as well. I really enjoyed Verdant, and it's definitely crunchier and stinkier than Cascadia for sure. And I do love it.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, and I think for me, Cascadia has that nice point of like it's stinky but not too stinky. And for me, that means it's going to it'll be easier to get to the table. With my main playing partner, Michelle, she likes casual Gateway Plus games. And we actually know we did enjoy Verdant. Why didn't I put this on the list? I no. I'm going with Cascadia. I'm not going to overthink it. I really enjoy it.
No, Cascadia is probably cheaper.
Yeah, that's it. That might be it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our number one for the list. Richard's got it. Let's see what he's got to say. Take it away, Richard.
Oh, nice choice. Again, Ruel, you are 4 for 4, and Cascadia, a no-brainer, definitely deserving of all the kudos and awards it's won over the year. And Chris, I take back everything I said earlier in this video. An excellent choice. Grand Austria Hotel is one of the all-time Euro greats. And especially for folks who don't know, the Let's Waltz expansion introduced an alternate way that you can have the turn order structure. So it's not the snake turn order, which can make you really, at a high player count, end up having to wait a long time between turns. It was hugely improved. You don't have to pick up the Let's Waltz expansion. You can apply the new rules to the original game, and it makes an already phenomenal game even better. Just figured I should mention that for folks who don't know, or who maybe played Grand Austria Hotel and said, boy, I really liked it, except for the incredibly long wait between turns. So, that was fixed, and those are excellent choices, but they pale in comparison to our communal number one, which is Jaws of the Lion, which I could not believe I found on Cool Stuff Inc. for $21.59, which is a bit lower than normal, but it's always been an incredibly one of the best value propositions in board gaming, quite frankly. Now, the full title of this is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Gloomhaven is my number 3 highest ranked game of all time, but Gloomhaven is a terrifying game to approach. It has an incredibly long rule book, so many deep, complex Byzantine rules that you really have to learn to be able to appreciate the brilliance of this cooperative dungeon crawl. But what makes Jaws of the Lion a spin-off, basically a Gloomhaven 1.5, is that it introduces you to all the core concepts of the game in what has got to be the greatest tutorial system that we have ever seen in board gaming. And really, all publishers should study how Cephalofair Games put this together to make one of the most complex, daunting, terrifying games to learn incredibly easy to learn, while giving you all the absolutely amazing cooperative dungeon crawliness. And at this price, how could you not include it on a list? One of the greatest co-ops of all time, and one of the greatest value propositions at $21.59. Number one on the list for me, it had to be Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah, that's pretty much a no-brainer. That was a great call, Richard. So much. I've been talking about it all list long. So much bang for your buck. I mean, there's something that they took Gloomhaven, shrunk it down, but made it a lot more accessible. And I've started my Jaws of the Lion campaign, and I'm really enjoying it. It's got what you want as far as jumping into that big world without committing to the big box experience, right? Yeah. So, Chris, any thoughts?
I'm still working on convincing my girlfriend Renee to jump into that with me, because I've only played Gloomhaven. I haven't played Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, I feel like this would be a good one for us to play together, and so I'm just waiting for my moment to strike.
There it is.
And fantastic price for it. Like so much value, right? Like, you get so many campaigns, you get so many game sessions,
right?
On the backs of a system that was number one on Board Game Geek for like 5 years. You know,
exactly. And I think. Well, the great thing
it'll hit.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about it too is the fact that you play it, and if you really get into it, then you've got Frosthaven, you've got Gloomhaven waiting for you if you really want to dive deeper into it. But rather than committing right away, I'm going to buy Frosthaven, and you play it's like, oh, it's not for me. You're out a couple of $100, right? Whereas with Jaws of the Lion, it's a lot more accessible, and it's not going to break your bank account, right? If it's not for you, okay, you've only spent a certain amount of money rather than hundreds of dollars, right? So
that's part of the reason why I was really happy when Gloomhaven got dethroned by Brass Birmingham on BGG as number one, because it's happened more than once that people have been like, oh, board games, and like starting to get interested in board gaming, and then they've gone to BGG and they're like, well, what's the number one game? Gloomhaven. Okay, I should probably get that, right?
Yeah.
And I've had to be like, well, okay, just like slow down for a second. Like it's gonna be big. It's gonna be a big investment. But like I've had that. I think that's the reason my friend Josh gave me Gloomhaven for a Christmas gift or a birthday gift one year.
Okay.
And I think that's the reason. Like that's the reason. Like it's the number one game.
Nice.
That's the one for you, right? And so I was like, great. And so he and I like started playing it, and he doesn't play a lot of games, so like he hasn't been that into it. And so that's where my Gloomhaven like experience has kind of tailed off, because I want to play it with him because like he bought it for me.
Yeah.
But I think Jaws of the Lion also solves that immensely in terms of being accessible and not being so overwhelming to like new players. I would rather Jaws of the Lion was number one over Gloomhaven. So I would be like, oh, that's a Gloomhaven I should get first, right?
Exactly.
And then as like more knowledgeable gamers, you'd know the difference. But when you don't know, right, going into it, it's
right.
Yeah, so great pick.
Yeah, great pick. And I know that Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion has been rising up in the rankings of BGG, so it's nice to see that getting the recognition it deserves.
Oh yeah, it's like 5. It's like number 5.
It's right up there. Okay, great. So, folks, that's our top 12 games for $300. Let us know what you thought should have been on the list in the comments below. And, Chris, thanks again. Another fantastic show. Always wonderful talking to games with you, my friend. And I
agree.
Yeah, always a good time. And until next time, folks, we'll see you later. That's the R&R&R Show, episode 71. Take care. See you later. So long. Bye-bye.